Welcome back here to the Charlotte Major with another EU versus EU showdown. No excuse yet to use an NA voice, but I'm sure we'll find an opportunity. I'm Freak, this is Hat.
Yeah, and indeed it is going to be the G2 versus Heroic rematch, really, because we've already seen them play against one another. Back then it was a G2 victory, and I'm going to again quote you, Jack Fresh, who is sitting in the back of us. He's joining us for the playoffs, but he's like, oh, Heroic, they look mudded. That's the best accent I can do. But not the case, because they struck back instantly afterwards with a victory of their own. But this is their moment to go for a repeat, for a rematch, for a bit of revenge.
Well, quoting Fresh, he is a sad, strange little man, and we find ourselves with a showdown here between 5 on 5. And let's see who's going to be the one that comes out on the top. Obviously, as you said, there was an experience. There was a game that they played yesterday, but they play each other in EUL. We could, over the next 2 games, see our first eliminated team. Neither of these two, but W7M are currently sitting in a bit of a danger spot. If G2 pull points now, they just need 1 from their showdown just after this.
Yeah, and that is what is going to be making it quite dangerous here. G2, the new alleged super team, had a bit of struggles during the European League. We'll mention it again. They could qualify themselves, but then lost massively.
It wasn't flying, it was falling with style.
Yeah. At least they got back up, right? They're here right now, and they're looking, or at least hoping, they can top their groups at the end of it for that first seed.
That's it. To infinity and beyond, they're looking to be lifted up by the claw and find themselves in a slightly more prominent position. They have the chance now to be along DZ, fighting for one of those top 2 spots. They didn't know how far they would get. There was always that sort of worry. They're trying to find themselves out of the groups, out of this sort of sticky situation and into playoffs with what is arguably still a fresh roster. Sure, it's a roster of huge talent. It's 5 guns from across the board that's reached for the sky and beyond, but you still have to see if you can try and push yourself just that little bit further.
Yeah, and that is going to be starting with this game here against Heroic. They beat them once, 7-3 on Oregon here at the Major. If they do it again, well, they are pretty much set and manage to at least exclude them from challenging their potential top spot in the league. But Heroic themselves, well, they are coming in here now as well. And they won that win as much, if not more, compared to G2.
I think that's the position here for Heroic. If they're being quoted as not being in a good sort of mental position, they got to take the words of Mr. Potato Head, and time to introduce them to the Angry Eyes. See if they can be the snake in the boots for who they're up against here. It's G2. It's a team that they know, and they got to see if they can try and take the fight.
For those of you that didn't know, the Potato Head, that's Fresh. Right. So we're gonna
Potato Head is Fresh.
Yes, exactly. So, okay, with that, we have the scene set. We have the 2 teams introduced. We know all about them because we see them every single time, every single day during the European League. Some good covering from the strats there from Kagona, just putting it right in front of his forehead.
Yeah, you know, just show. And he's just memorizing them.
Don't show anything, just absorb.
He's just absorbing the intel. You can see, obviously, Mr. Officer Murat, the man, the myth, the legend, the sheriff.
Now, we still do not know whether or not he is actually the same person as Gassan, because
we don't know, because we haven't seen him in the same place.
Gassan isn't. What's going on?
Well, we know where they're going to go.
It's Bank.
We are heading to Bank, and, well, actually, Heroic's already headed to Bank. They took W7M there as the second showdown yesterday, and it was a 7-3. It was a very well-played Bank, and it was, well, the only well-played Bank, actually, over the past 3 months for Heroic. They otherwise lost it. G2 are 2 for 2 on this map, though.
Yeah, I was going to say, but one of those was up against Rogue, and that could have gone either way, we have to say. It was a bit of a difficult matchup for G2. They were still trying to get everything to go their direction, go their way, trying to find their identity. But ever since they're playing on the Major, it feels like they're starting to find it. It feels like they're setting their pace and are able to make others follow. And with that, well, both these teams so far seem to know back. They seem to be somewhat confident on it. Otherwise, you're not going to be bringing it back here in a rematch, especially not as opponent as it currently is. And then the big question comes in. Who has something extra to show?
It's always awkward, isn't it? Because it's the double down. It's the repeat of a game. We obviously had a taste of that with an EU team earlier, where Wolves played Astralis again, and Astralis had their number. Astralis just came into that game swinging, and we talked about the importance of this game as a first win for either of these two teams. It's a showing on a grander stage. For G2, it's the cementing of, well, we've taken out the team that beat us during the recent season in a best of one. If they can do it again, then, well, that's now in their favor. That's now them being the ones that are swinging the racket and seeing where the ball lands. And I think from Heroic's point of view, if this game goes against them, if they were in a bad spot before, well,
according to Mr. Potato
according to Mr. Potato Head, fresh, then it gets even worse. Is it going to be You Got a Friend in Me, or is it going to be the much sadder Sarah McLachlan song from the second one, when she left me? No, a lot about Toy Story.
Does it still feel sad when?
Huh?
Do you still have sad feelings about that song? Is that when she left you?
Yeah, I mean, everybody cries. Everybody cries when they watch it. We will be in the game in just a moment. We'll be finding ourselves, as we said, on bank. If you want an idea of how Heroic played it, kind of sharp. The way that the last 2 rounds actually ended for them was a rush.
And a rush.
Against W7M. They went in, they rushed the plant, they had the cover, they had a good idea, and sure, obviously, W7M were playing a little bit with the handicap of being at range. But put on your cowboy hats, your stirrups, and your boots.
Yeehaw.
Yeehaw!
As we're getting in the way again.
There's a snake in my boots.
So many people are going to be so confused why that is going through. But it doesn't matter. We're not going to be even telling them why.
No.
There's a special reason for it.
We just like America.
Yeah.
And cowboy things.
And snakes and boots.
Snakes and boots.
Yeah.
And snakes and boots and snakes and boots. Thatcher, gone. Bam, straight off the board. I always talk about how much I like Zero on this map. I like the sand cams. I like what it can bring. Is he going to be let through? I don't know, because we didn't actually see Heroic really use him. No, Finker is off the board.
I mean, honestly, no clue why the Finker would be banned. So it's just a big LMG, there is some nades, there is some healing, there's a gun 6. It's almost like there's a lot of utility in the pockets of that operator. The Valkyrie, though, is a band that Heroic has gone for before. And maybe we see him in Lucy. No, Mira, okay. I was going to say, maybe they banned the same one they banned last time up against Heroic. Not the case. Mira, of course, an operator that we know through and through. Changes the side, changes the setups, changes the holds and attacks that need to be coming through as a result.
Let me just paint a scene. Let me just paint a picture. This is how the group currently looks. So you'll have to visualize this, everybody. But this current group, the way it's set up, Dark Zero, they've obviously played more games than anybody else. They've played 4, and they're sitting on 9 points of them. 2 full fat wins, an OT win, and an OT loss. G2, they're in second place on 4 points. They've only played 2 games. Heroic have played 3, and they're sitting on only 3 points. They took the full win, but they fully lost the other 2. And then W7M are currently in last place with only an OT win. So 2 points.
I painted a picture for you.
You painted a picture. You drew it. I mean, drawing is painting.
I can't paint. I'm sorry.
But like, what this means is, as we said before, if G2 take the full 3 points, they find themselves, the group will read 9, 7, 3, 2. Yeah. And the other 2 teams have a total of 6 points left. So it's not over.
No, but GT still has another
not
game.
6, 9, sorry. They have 9 points left. The ones that, at the bottom of the board, W7.
Yes.
But G2 has another game.
Yeah, I was going to say, against W7M.
But
right after this one.
Heroic only then have 6 points that they can grab.
Yes. So G2 winning this one means there's 4 points in between them and Heroic. Probably, and it's going to be very difficult to try and close that gap in such little time left, especially if G2 then also manage to win up against W7M later on. But we still have to wait and see whether or not that will be the case. That is in the future. That's after this game. So let's first go for the European matchup here between G2 and Heroic.
Okay. Let's get a bit of a taste of this. Gorgona bringing the Ossa. We have the cover there of the Ying as well. They're sort of set up cautiously. They want to make sure that nobody can get the confidence to swing around, but they're playing this so aggressively there that Gorgona can't really go much further. If he does, it's a bit of a risk, especially with no one in the sport. So the pressure has to come from elsewhere. They're starting over the top. They want to see if they can clear out the space the Roamers might be trying to choose for themselves, and otherwise sort of saying, this is our bank now, trying to deposit them further and further away. You can see a player roughly around open on the far side. You can obviously get the stretch of the site itself. They are giving a little bit back, but not the most intense second story hold, which, to be fair, you know, when you still have a C4, you still have, weirdly, a shield in pocket of Alamau, there might be something you can try and restructure around this.
There's an opportunity to, indeed, and while G2 doesn't really need to be over-aggressive up on that top floor, we are, of course, playing in that basement, so them being around the open area and the kitchen, that is going to be more than plenty for them to try and hold off as much of the ground that Heroic wants to take, because often it relies a lot on that hatch control around the open area. That is how you create yourself a gap in CCTV that you can then use to plant. However, as well, Heroic has proven that they are not shying away from a drop through the vault.
Now, Virtue holding on to blue. This is where this man plays. Not Virtue, Warden. It's his favorite place in the whole world, outside of protecting the president. If the president was there, double favorite place. Gorgona, with a big rotate now, it's just going to see if they can try and apply pressure elsewhere, because it's tough to go up against the Warden if you don't have a lot to try and burn through. Or in the case of what we saw actually yesterday against them, Blitz, who just blitzed his way across. They're holding over the hatch, 40 seconds though, and with nobody from G2 still offering themselves, they've got to try and come up with a new plan. A push back into the garage. They're not entirely sure if the hold on the police car on the far side is free, but you can see Prano is kind of eyeing up the idea. The bulletproof camera has nothing, but they're starting to get a bit of pressure elsewhere. So, there's a great grenade. Sloth's able to find Doki. We hear the Candelas pop as the camera gets taken out. Sloth is locked inside now as the spray comes around. Alamau with the cover onto green. The smoke dap in the middle now is just going to stop them getting a true plant, but a second grenade from Sloth and then a quick pick back up by Prano. Digs his way through, 10 seconds, cold Jit. Another one for Prano. He has the line and the lock. There's a single player of Gorgona dropped. He's able to get one, at least on the way out. But the kid on the other side of the world, it's a G2 start.
It's a G2 start indeed, and where Sloth was able to find 2 kills with that grenade, you know, they knew exactly where it's going to be coming from the elevator. You're basically locked in from there. Prano able to find 2 kills as a result. He's going to be able to really make sure that G2 was staying into that game, even though they took those early losses. And that means it's 1-0 yet again for G2.
Okay, let's see how we start to push in here, because what we got there from G2 Cams, that's a lot of energy. For a team that otherwise hasn't been that pop-offish, sure, they know more than a lot of other people what needs to be done on a big stage. Not as a 5-pronged unit, but as a difference of 5 players that have all had this experience before.
Yeah, that's it, right? Like, you have Doki, who's played for such a long time, Citizen as well, who's played with G2 for a while, and basically took them in his backpack for a while. Virtue coming all the way over from Australia, from the OCE.
Rep the OCE.
He's always making them proud when he plays. And Alamau, of course, a major winner is on the lineup here.
I mean, you've got that acclaimer. Citizen as well, obviously.
Yeah, true. So there is definitely a lot of experience in G2, and when they just got together, they were, of course, playing for Berlin. They were able to get to know each other, and they said it's important to do that now. So when you go to the major, it's not the actual first time you meet one another. So things already run smoothly here, and that might actually give G2 a bit of an advantage here, because there's a lot of new blood on the major stage here this year.
Huno bringing in the Fuse, the role that's very good at clearing through anything that might otherwise be a bit of a hazard. It's not really used to pick off players, but instead massive pockets of utility. There's a bit of a pressure here out open. It's a big space. It's why, as I said many, many times, I love the SAM cams, because you just get 2 stories of intel for the cost of 1. They're getting in close. And Citizen, he's not far away from working behind that desk. He's waiting to see if he catches somebody who doesn't quite expect it, but there's also the curiosity of a drone. That's why he's keeping that sort of crosshair ready, and he's got himself tucked into a corner where if he needs to make a quick getaway, he can. Sloth hopped up on the top, is looking for a rotate that might come all the way from the bottom of green and the bottom of white stairs, but otherwise not being gifted as of yet. More of a steady clear here from Heroic, and there's 2 C4s to try and catch them. Neither has gone fishing yet.
Lost both his drones already, Sloth as well, and if you look at it, there's only 5 left in the hands of Heroic, and you know, they've only just started to take this top floor under control. They still need to be hammering down onto the site quite a lot to force them out of tellers, to force them out of archives, and after that, these drones, they need to be on site or going into the site to give the information towards these entry fraggers so they can open up a gap. But with Virtue inside the elevator, that's exactly one of those issues that might occur with a lack of drones.
Oh, they are so close to finding somebody. There's just that movement around it, and there's somebody found elsewhere. Set, the C4s are on the board, and Alamant's able to make the first one sing or scream, depending on what side of it you are on. Virtue, with the deep rotate, they now have the body advantage, and they've taken the fuse off the board as well. Talk of what he can clear, nothing with his early removal. The play on the grenade there, just as that hatch gets opened by Virtue, gives them an angle in a second. Might not know how close he was to saving Citizen's life, because they've been pretty pinpoint with those grenades just before that one. Doesn't get the full taste of the Thunderbird. They might be able to get themselves healed up and out of there. There's nobody quick to put the pressure on. 40 seconds.
Putting down a new salvation station, so Citizen will pop up with a little bit of extra health here. He's waiting for the jump in through the hatch. Those flashbangs are not going to be able to stun him completely, and that means he's still in a good spot to hold this drop in, but he misses the shots and will be taken out instantly by Sloth.
Doki gets a bit of response there and revenge, and there's two more with Alamant putting the cherry on the top of the cake. Benja, he's in a 3 versus 1, buried in the site. He's able to get one more with the swing round, but once again, it's a 2 versus 1, and he doesn't have the kit, and he has 2 players on the other side of the site. He can't quite get the connections. There's a bit of a rotation. They reveal he's doing it with a cam on, but Prano, he's bringing a bit of that pace.
One of the salvation stations, or the Kona stations for those of you unknown with the terminology, was actually used there to heal Benja up. I mean, it's not going to be the difference maker there, but it could as well be. I mean, you probably remember the clutch that we saw from Space Station on Villa when he ran up from the Solarium stairs all the way up, or the Astronomy stairs, I mean, all the way up. Back towards that Kona station, got healed in the middle of it, which actually pushed him over 41 HP, and a 4v1 clutch it was in the end. But a tactical timeout happens, and with that, it's Heroic that after 2 rounds think they need a talk here. And Mr. Officer is going to be giving it to them here. Trying to get Vocal, trying to get them to focus back on that game and what is ahead of them, because they need these points desperately.
That's it. I mean, you're looking at 2 teams where whoever takes this game, it's not that it's set in stone, but it's starting that scratchy process of being etched in. It starts the idea. It's a back and forth blood feud between these two, as it would be of any inter-region teams. The same we say, obviously, about the APAC teams that would have gone against each other. The same we say of the Latin American teams and obviously the other EU teams, because we're in each other's group twice.
We definitely are. There is quite some inter-regional matchups.
Apart from NA.
Apart from NA. And we do some multiple regions on our side. APAC North.
APAC North.
EWEL. That's what we're always having a little bit of bias for, you know. It's not too extreme.
Gorg on the Amaru. Gorg on the Amaru is central. I mean, he's picked up a few off-kilter operators before. He's going to see if he can try and drive it through, because it can offer pace. It can offer cover with smokes. The SAM is gone, instead swaps to the Twitch, but we also saw, obviously, the next to the sledge. A bit of a change of pace here. They can, obviously, still try and play a grenade game underneath if they want to. It's now locked in. I'm curious to see what they might try and do here, because Heroic aren't a team that's shy to the idea of pace.
No, and I think G2 should be well aware of the fact that a rush is always on the cards here with the side of Heroic. And as Alamar actually swapped from Oryx to Smoke, that might suit them better in dealing with the Amaru if they want to go deep. Well, there is no smoke canister now, but if they do want to go for a cheeky plant, you have a PC utility you can use to try and stop it together with the Nitro, together with an Impact, and potentially the Evil Eyes as well.
Grizzly's waiting for that to pop open now, giving himself some width there on the breach and just forcing Kanto, that angle at the top of the stairs, to not really be held by anybody. It's a long sightline, and it's an awkward one to try and respond to. You just need the rifle to start hitting feet there, and there's not really many guns that can respond, especially with how awkward it is to lean into that fight and how quick you can be on the bottom of a rappel. Talking at the bottom, there is a player hanging around on the archive side. Underneath, they've got themselves a bit of a stretch in rotation if they want to try and apply something. Doki's giving himself a bit of a lifeline here. He's hoping things start to get thrown in, and he's just trying to, I guess, get a spot. He can work out where this first body might be. He might be able to lean into it, but it's Sloth that's trying to do the response and the revenge. A lot of grenades are currently stacked up on the bottom here between the sledge and the Iana.
Yeah, 4 could be tossed up very quickly here, but it's not necessary in the end. Grizzly takes care of Doki, who was able to shut down some of the hours earlier, but in the end, still opened up. Now, Virtue on a long angle here, actually, with a 1.5 on that UMP behind the shield is still going to be able to at least put up a little bit of a challenge towards the side of Kanto, towards the side of Spiral Stairs. If they do decide to go for it, the Amaru goes up the elevator, and that is definitely going to be giving them a little bit of a clue that the push is coming.
Well, there's Brana, goes for one, gets dropped there. The cover of Sloth comes through because they knew where that Amaru was. They heard the claw go. There's pings on the player underneath. As Alamau actually gets dropped in and amongst it. Whether it was Uno on the window, it now puts them into a 4 versus technical 2. There's not really a stretch too much here. They have the ping and the reveal. There's the lock-in, the pop through the soft, the drone. Catches Virtue as they go for a bit of a retreat there. It's a full force push here from Heroic. They've been able to get the kid in. That C4 didn't work, but that gun sure did. Citizen over the back line gets one more. 40 seconds. Hot pings coming through here. They're going to just try and stick the diffuser on the far side. It's going kind of cold. There's a spray through. They can't get the angle. Sloth's able to get out of there. Good idea, but unfortunately couldn't quite get the connection now in a post plant. The pressure from the side of Banana is caught by Citizen. He puts it into a 2 versus 2 with Virtue putting pressure onto the corridor from Stock. They now have the reveal on the player and Janitors. Citizen's able to find them too. Gets himself a triple for the round so far. Suddenly it's a 2 versus 1, and the last body is Grizzly all the way in the elevator on the far side. 20 seconds though. That's the tricky thing. He pushes himself a bit closer to the fight, gets the down onto 1, looks for the second, but he's just wasting time. He knows how close he is, but Grizzly gets the connection.
Grizzly with the 1v2 clutch in the end there, but for a while it seemed like Citizen and G2 were going to be able to bring it back and make sure that they would be 3-0 up. And it was a smart thing to do for him, because as soon as that plant went down, you saw Citizen go towards the windows, make sure no one can jump outside, because if someone manages to get to the outside, it is game over. You have to jump after them. That's a lot of time wasted in that moment in time. Grizzly being inside that elevator. It's a shame they didn't know before. Because if G2 found out he was there, Citizen could have gone for a defuse even. So well played here by Heroic, making sure there was no information on the last player, his position, just to pick up this round here.
Well, Heroic, you're able to take 1. And you still have some ideas put to the boards here. Gona's got the Amaru and not any longer. Swapped off the Osso, whether they thought they would see if it was the top floor or not. I just wanted to get a quick clear on the top floor and catch people by surprise, which you do often see teams do. It just gives you pace. And pace on Bank is sometimes surprising because of how big the map can be in terms of open space.
That's also the weakness of the defenders, right? Like, yeah, sure, a large defending area favors defenders in general. However, if you do decide to spread out too thin, like put people in every single corner of the map, you're only left with one person on the site. The attackers will just have to read that, they will just push through, and suddenly it's a 5-on-1, you get overwhelmed, and it is going to be that reverse game where the defenders need to try and retake. So, it can help, sure, but as you said, it is also a weakness if played into it by the attackers. And, you know, Heroic, they like these rushes, and if there's anybody that's going to be able to read the weakness of G2 here, it could be them.
Gona, he was last time trying to enter from the far side of Garage. This time, they're going for a little bit more of a direct route through to the server room. They're seeing if they can try and stop out Alamau, who does have the support in the swing of Citizen, just towards the top of Blue Stairs, who's also waiting for his own approach here. They're sort of hoping that they go a bit blind. Expect the fight on the stairs, because at this point, with how much is stacked up, it might be Doki that gets the first take. They had a bit of a reveal. The pre-fire and the shots there, they've gone a bit wider. You can see Prano's on a hot foot rotate round on the bottom of the white stairs, now going to offer something from the side of the door. Doki's trying to offer at least just one angle. There's the pick up on 1. Benj is looking for the second here. Huge damage done to Citizen. There's the grenade, and, well, there's Uno just opening up Doki instead. They pull themselves back in. A great opener here for Heroic with the takeover open.
Big mistake from G2 there. Doki unable to land the first kill. Prano tries to rotate up to provide some help. And sure, that all seems great, but unfortunately, Benja a little bit quicker there. They will be able to find 2 of those kills. And with that, it's only a 3-on-5 defense on a side that should be highly favored, but Virtue able to escape with a shotgun shell onto Gorgona, brings it back to a 4-on-3. But look at the HP on the left-hand side. Citizen on about 10, Virtue on about 20 of it. And, you know, everything, every single bullet, every single caliber will just finish them off with a single hit.
Well, there's preps and holds on the hatches as well. There's not really anywhere safe at this point. Heroic have just under a minute, which is plenty of time to try and formulate an approach here with the control that they have and what is already open to them. With that wall being soft and obviously with the possibility of a buck or a sledge opening it up for them, it just becomes a bit of a game of waiting out those smokes. 3 in pocket, it's enough time to try and waste anything on a default plant, but they know that they can dip, dodge, and dive their way behind the chassis a little bit further. The first gets thrown. Alamau's waiting for a drop on the hatch on his right-hand side as well as Uno gets that clarity, gets that opener. They can give themselves just that little bit of width. Can they bait the plant? 22 seconds. They've really not left themselves with much time. Flashes come through. Sloth finds Alamau. There's the smoke gone. Nothing else they can do this time round. They're waiting instead of going for the plant. Citizen is in a position. He's pre-firing the angle here. He's looking for the fight over the top. Gets caught. Just leaves the single player. Virtue on the far side. Hopes that they swing into him. They don't. There's 2 bodies that are getting closer, but they know that they can just try and stick the plant. 45 is the fresh timer. 45 is what Virtue now has to work with, but he doesn't see much of it as Heroic find their second.
I was going to say, actually had enough time to go up to the top, try and see if he could find something through that hatch, rather than staying there. Was always going to be a bit more successful. However, it's 2-2. Heroic played that well. We're able to shut down the roamers up to the top 4. You see in the replays again, when it just became that 1v4, there's nothing really you can do anymore.
That's it, a bit of energy now, and G2, they are responding with what makes sense, a timeout. Jas talking it through with the team. They know the power that they had in the opening 2 rounds, and they want to make sure that they break this momentum, because Heroic were starting to build it pretty well as well. It was really starting to thread itself together, and you can sort of see on their faces that, well, they know that they can have a little bit more control over this game. They know that they can try and dive into this frag game. There's the connections that just aren't connecting. They went with an attempt on an aggressive hold and open, and it was just punished by being a little bit caught out on, I think, knowledge that they didn't expect Heroic to have. The first swing onto the beeper's door is obviously going to be called by the audio, but the second is the pickup there onto the Citizen rotation. Whilst they were putting pressure onto box, it was seemingly G2 a little bit caught unaware.
It might, yeah, the lack of information, right? Because they knew someone snuck through, because the gunfight happened with Doki on the copy. But he had no clue where he went, because he managed to sneak past, get past the cubicles, and hold towards the beepers. And of course, it's going to be given away. But Prano had no idea where the attacker would be. Probably would have expected him to still be around the copy side of the open area. That was just not the case. And you get caught off, and after that, you have the man advantage. Heroic just tosses themselves in, up on top that middle floor. Now it just falls apart. Now, 2-2. Tactical timeout from both teams used. That means we don't get to see any of them anymore in this matchup here.
No more.
You don't refresh them during a overtime, so it is just 1, and that's it. 1 for these maximum of 15 rounds in the group stage.
Hammer, Ying, Dokkaebi, Nook, Buck. It's a bit of a precarious lineup. It's a bit of a particular lineup, but it's kind of one that Heroic... If I would see this as data, I'd be like, this could be Heroic, but it also could be a G2 attack.
It's a very telling lineup, right? Because you have the operators that can bring the pace, you have the Ying for the flashbangs, Amaru that can just repel him wherever, and Dokkaebi for the extra information, whilst Sloth is probably going to try and sneak in somewhere. Actually, when I say it, it's Grizzly that is inserting himself through the garage, trying to sneak up. He's going to get himself caught off by Virtue, though. Dealt quite a lot of damage, but I believe he's being followed. I'm not quite sure if it was Benja or Sloth that was going right after. It was Uno with the Amaru.
Uno with the kit, the Amaru, whether they wanted to go up the hatch and be a bit quick, I think that was the play and the ploy. You know, the open hatch just underneath, get up, get blinded, get in, get planted, get out. But Prano taking care of Benja means that, well, things are sort of getting a little bit awry here. Uno wanted to see if he can try and finish off the fight. I don't think Virtue expected that, obviously with how scrappy the engagement was, but sometimes it's just the speed at how you can respond there. Grizzly was caught just as unaware, so Sloth's going to see if he can try and make some magic. That's locked now, though. So they've sort of realized they've got this 2-body advantage. There's no point trying to overstretch and stress this as Disc get the catch. Uno finally finds at least 1 back. Alamau is taken out, but so is Uno almost. He's so close to the danger. Just takes one of the 3 impacts near him to be the end.
Yeah, for sure. Gorgonov will find another kill, though, so Doki gets taken out. That means he can also not use the Evil Eye anymore to zap Uno to his demise. And it brings it to a somewhat even 3v3, because if you look at Virtue, he's also very low. So this could still go either way. With 1:10 left on the clock, it is the open area. It's a very accessible site. So, again, Heroic can still pull this off, but Virtue inside the elevator is in a crucial spot because he will just shut down one of these entrances, leaving only one or two for the rest of G2 to worry about.
Well, Sloth on the Nook is trying to find access here, but obviously the grenade, the first one, wasn't caught well. This is just going to bounce close to the castle and get it opened up and made sure that they have that width. Uno with this kit is going for his own rotation round. I'm not sure if the can opener will be able to do anything on the solid wall, or they're just going to try and hit the beeper's door, but they sort of need to find some structure. It didn't catch it. No. The grenade didn't quite get that castle, so he's instead going to have to do some busybody work and get it smashed open. A bit of a blow of time.
Single shift now, there you go, gets opened up. Some pre-fires there in case someone wanted to go aggressive, but doesn't seem to be the case. 25 seconds, and it seems like the small office will be the point of attack. Now, actually, it's going to be the kitchen, it seems like, Emmy.
Well, they have a ping on a player, but that camera will have the reveal on absolutely everybody. There's no way you're getting it. So Gogona gets it from above. Prana goes down. They're trying to make an entrance. They got to see if they can try and push their way past that blind camera. There's another one that's watching it. They have the breach. Citizen has Uno. The kit is cold. Re-picked back up. Gogona needs to be the cover, and he comes through with a triple, but the plant is sticking. There it is. They see a sliver. They're wide. Virtue! Right place, right time.
They saw the slither due to the secondary hard breach gadget that got used. The quad wall gets opened up. However, if you're planting behind the kitchenette, you will be picked up from that door. Nothing that the cover could have done there. You were always going to be out of time. Your only hope would have been to have 5 seconds on the clock and have the diffuser actually turn on him. But that didn't go through. And G2 now lead again, 3-2.
It was very well played there by Virtue. Obviously, you got to give credit to the hold that came through on the side and the work that Heroic were able to do to come back from a 3-5 deficit. But that one player being in that power position, the sort of idea of rotating around behind them, it's not the first time we've seen it, but there's a reason for that. It is that effective. Whether it's a push round from the archive side, whether it's a rotation round from servers and blue underneath, either way, the result is the same. Success here for G2 and maybe angling towards the 4-2. Heroic could still pull an even half here. One more swing down at lockers.
Moving where your enemy thinks is clear after they've cleared it is always going to be effective because they think, all right, you know, it seems clear, we've checked out this entire side of the building, and if you're just hiding in the corner that when misdroned or unchecked, you're going to be able to basically make all that ground they just cleared and turn it into a false sense of security. They will think that they're safe from that direction, and suddenly they're not anymore, and that is when you can strike at its hardest and sow the most chaos in between the ranks of those attackers at that given moment in time. Benj a bit too late to try and open it up himself. Teammate helped him already. He's trying to insert himself quickly though.
Now, Benj hasn't quite been able to get himself into this game as he has in a lot of others. Sloth kind of warming up, but Gogona is actually performing a bit better than we've seen them so far. They've unfortunately hit and miss, and when they hit, they are so hefty. So they're always a player that you really want if you're a Heroic fan to start trying to find some engagement, some early sort of aggression. 2 drones, a third is still wearing its way towards the player inside Janet as the pings come through, and there's the reveal at the head. There's Gogona going for a bit of a split push, but it's Benja through the soft that finally locks it in. Citizen tried to offer some support, but I think that was a catch from Gogona on the square door that meant they couldn't get any further.
Now, he was debating whether or not to go all the way back down towards the side, but decides to actually stick around in the open area. And I understand that choice because you do not want to fully give up your mid-floor here and give it up to Heroic for free as a bit of a challenge comes through. Whilst he's on the skeleton key, you know he cannot instantly challenge back with that C8. As soon as that shots stop firing, you know that the fully automatic assault rifle is back underway on the buck. And Gogona unable to respond, but Drone, however, giving away a lot of information about G2, but the 90 seconds hit, and the 90 seconds mark is usually when G2 starts falling back towards the side.
That's it. Virtue still locked in as blue as well. They've sort of not been able to find a way to force him out at this point, but they've not always gone for him on their takes here. Instead, they pay a lot more focus towards the elevator, towards the hatch around here. Not even the vault hatch seems to be a drop point for them. They're more than happy to actually take the fight down the stair set itself. There's the catch, there's a bit of a rotation, and there's some eyes now towards the hatch onto the site. There is the player inside the server underneath. Sloth's going to go for a bit more width here, and Garage is going to be instantly picked up. Rhino has the lockdown. G2 are still making sure that any first showings of players are sort of met with a bit of fire. Benja slips his way through. It's the swing on the left-hand side. He doesn't see Brano takes the head off of Benja at range, just keeps him at bay. The second doesn't quite have the same effect. Sloth gets rid of the camera as the fire starts to come through onto the elevator itself. They pull back from the smoke canister. The first wasted, the second picked up by Alamau, but they are very quickly finding one more. Virtue has the cover and support. The grenade gets caught out by the ADS on the far side. Sloth, he might be about to meet a shotgun, close quarters and personal. He's not sure what to do, but 20 seconds gives him a bit of range. Citizen puts us into a 2 versus 1, though. He doesn't have much health. They only have a little bit more, but there's 2 of them, and that's the big risk when the kit is still cold. Once again, another 2 versus 1 situation. Once again, another do or die situation. They're missing the intel, but Alamau isn't.
Well played there by the side of G2, able to keep their cool there, even though Heroic was really pushing in from every single given direction there. And they managed to just hold it out in the end. And you said he might be swung on with a shotgun, but the barrel just sticking out was enough for Sloth to realize that they needed, or he needed, to go for a pre-fire there, find the kill eventually. Also, Prana not expecting a second player to be in that deep already, near that garage. And G2 now 4-2 on that split. That is a good split here for them on this map. On towards the attack themselves now. See if they can at least even out or better the performance that Heroic have put up.
So it's a 4-2 half here on Bank, and it's pretty familiar, it's pretty standard. It's sort of being a bit of a back and forth with both attack timeouts used is now that sort of question mark. The game is in motion. It's a rolling. And the only people that can affect this outcome or have any swing or sway in the motions of the ocean are the 10 players in the game itself. 5 apiece either side, and all of them locked into the idea of trying to smart outplay the others on a map that offers itself well to it. Open is where we're going to open up these holds. A lot of changes here, but G2 have never been shy about attacker repick.
No, they're definitely not. I mean, sometimes I'm even convinced they just pick a random operator and they repick into whatever they actually need.
Just to mess with stat people.
Yeah, just to mess with the stat people that recorded the first one before the repick came through. Either way, Citizen in very quickly here near these blue stairs. He's going to be clearing a lot of ground here because he realizes that, you know, no one's out here. No one's playing on these blue stairs. That means I can potentially just sneak in towards the kitchen very soon. Virtue doing the exact same on the tellers here. Is going to be able to find a first gunfight, but not quite get the kill, as Uno will be getting the better of him.
Uno locked it in there. He's just had himself a little bit more, I think, angled. Obviously, when one player is coming from an open space and the other is through a doorway, it's kind of easier to line up against the door, but it gives Uno that little bit of moment. I guess it's the risk. If you are going to see how far you can get and how deep in a short space of time, there's that sort of cost. Alamau swings his way in. He's confident that that was otherwise locked, as it has now been. The ping is residual, and he's able to continue droning himself forward. Now that's a triple locked wall, the same way that G2 did it when they got the man advantage. At that point, don't play the extension. It's a little bit too much of a risk, and you give them an angle that they have to otherwise think about.
Yes, but Decayed Electroclaws not getting any of these walls on the triple one or the quad one. So it means that with these 3 Selmas, a lot of these walls are going to be able to be opened up by Alamau. Starting exactly that right now. Citizen as well coming to check, is wanting to take these gunfights. They need to find these kills. I'm not sure how many the impacts just... Did they get everything? That is
Alamau still has 1 more.
Okay, that is quite painful.
No, it only got 1 of them. Oh no, it still got an angle open. So it got the first one, but the second fell down, because I don't think he threw it that low. Yeah. I'm not entirely sure. So either way, all 3 have had a successful pop.
Exactly.
But 2 of them aren't rotates.
There is going to be some breach capability here for the side of G2. Citizen as well, looking to go aggressive, but they have no clue someone is up on the kitchen counter here. That might be the crucial factor. Sloth finds one. Citizen will be able to find a kill on Benja himself as well.
Low angle, they're creeping down towards that Selma that's just put through on the other side of the table. The pre-fire comes through. Sloth, dangerous position and a dangerous gun removed. LMG versus LMG, and Doki's able to find that slight bit more from the fight itself. They're looking towards the angle, and Grizzly's going to open up a fresh one of his own with a C4. The pings are coming through, but look at Gorgona. He's on that rotate we talked about before. He's on that position and eyeing up the idea of a blue take, and with 20 seconds left, if that pops off, then that will pop. Look at them. Quickly responding, though. They had an idea Gorgona was coming. All 3 of them turned to face it. Now they're a little bit curious, a little bit concerned. They're going to able to slink their way through, but the pings are coming through. There's a watch on the fight onto blue. Alamau finds Grizzly over the top. Alamau's now going to see if he can find one more. more connection. They're looking for the planter. They've crept themselves all the way in. He can't get the
misses the
connection! So close, but close doesn't make a round.
Doki with the double kill in the end there. He finds one of the flankers and just in time. I mean, you saw him. He was actually able to see the planter, was able to put bullets towards him, but he was unable to actually get that hit. And G2 now leading 5-2. Doki also coming in with the finger ban, almost had me, but I still have another LMG to play with the LMG of Zofia. So he's still going strong here, and as he finds the first flank, able to just in time flick towards the quad wall and find the second.
Well, there's a bit of energy. There's a bit of that G2, and I think they're feeling themselves right now. 5-2 up, and for context, obviously, for people who aren't too familiar with EUL, although Heroic are here on their first ever big major LAN outside of, obviously, Uno. They were the top dogs of EU. They were our top seed that came through here. They were pretty much almost undefeated. They only dropped one game. What map was that on?
I have a feeling it was Bank against Na'Vi, and it was a 7-2
one game that they dropped during EUL. It was a 7-2 versus Na'Vi on Bank. And currently, we are angling our way towards a second showing. As I said, it's not that Heroic are entirely out of this, but G2 does have that little bit more. And that little bit more in a game of 10 gunners, wow, it speaks for itself.
And of course, we have to give the credit to Heroic. They did come in first in a season where people expected BDS 1, G2 2, and then followed up by potentially even Rogue. So they surprised a lot of people actually showing up to the major here. And, you know, you want to see them succeed. You want to see them bring those hype moments and those heights that they had in the European League themselves as well.
Citizen is trying to find the fight here a bit. As a little bit of heat comes through against them from Sloth, they're sort of anticipating it. In fact, they're more than that, they're wanting it and inviting them in. Those pre-fires were to sort of say, come on in. The water, well, it's fine.
Well, not so much. He decided to actually fall off there. Citizen not deciding to actually go for that push. 8 drones still left in play for the side of G2. Vault hatch. Not the vault hatch, the elevator hatch is being opened up, and G2 is doing the preparative work here. Believe there's no one currently on a big roam here, just Benja that is close around the shield, but I believe he just fell back as well as Virtue gets picked up by Gorgona. That is actually a roamer. He was all the way up on the top floor, and it didn't seem to be aware of it.
Well, a second one almost gets caught there by Gorgona. He's using the Vector, which is a laser beam in these sort of engagements. They're doing enough to slow Doki. The C4 was just to push him back and actually buys himself a second with it. Sprays through, but Doki just as the crouch down, the lock in, and puts the body balance back even then. Gorgona took a risk. He tried to go for a rotate. He thought, well, maybe they'll know it's a 4 versus 4 on the site. The pop of that is just to make sure he doesn't get popped when they need to drop it in case of later. You really want that disposed. Otherwise, it's just sort of awkwardly sitting there. The drones roll their way towards the site itself. The default plant is potentially open here, but you're looking at no hard breach because Alamouse is used to get the hatches done.
Yeah, exactly. They do take care of most of the Vulcan pockets. However, though, there is going to be a Electroclaw pinged out, but there's nothing really left that they can use to open it up either way. So it is there, just so you know, but we are going to be seeing a quick drop coming in here from multiple different hatches, I believe, Emmy.
Not quite sure who's playing behind us, but something just happened there. We're about to have something happen here. 30 seconds. It's down to a 3-2-1 go for G2. A bit of pressure and stress on the far side. Prano's got the kid. It's pinged out continually. They're just trying to find where those heroic players are. Alamau's on a hatch. Prano's on a hatch. Doki's on a hatch. And now Benja's trying to find a response to it. Leans into the smoke, but they drop a little bit after. Finds it. The kit is cold. Sprays instantly towards the second with Sloth. Getting a lockdown on the far side. Benja, he's in and amongst the heat here. Grizzly gets one of his own. And Heroic just held themselves a bit firm here. G2, not enough time. Too much to do.
They didn't even get close to some extent. Yes, they started dropping hatches. Yes, they were inside a CCTV, but any given bank attack is going to be having someone in CCTV or able to drop through these hatches. And a 5-3 with that is going to be helping Heroic to start their comeback so slightly, because G2 only need 2 more rounds and they'll find themselves with another 3 on the board, put themselves up to 7. up against W7M later, where they are going to have the opportunity to take that first place in the group that they will be eyeing for today's goal. Now, open area again coming out here. Let's see how it will play out this time.
I think that's the thing about the open area hold as well before. Obviously, there were little moments. As I said, although the score was 5-2, it's not that Heroic have entirely been pushed aside this game. They've been able to have a couple of moments. They've been able to have a couple of close engagements. Obviously, Soft sitting there on 11-6. He has been a player that over this opening split that has Heroic in the first place seed showed up. And he didn't always do that last year. He sort of had an amazing CL run and that sort of error. And then he got into this situation where he was a little bit drab. He wasn't quite, you know, integrating himself into the game in the same way. Now this split started to really put up some of those numbers. Not quite at his CL level, but he's against PL pros, so it takes a bit of growth.
Not just that, against the best of the best as well. It's not just a team that's on the mid-table, it's G2 with gunners from all over the world where they have reached the top. And Elamau right now just saw something fly there. I believe it was just a bit of debris that came through, but sends out a drone either way to go and check it out just to be safe. Might have just actually seen Gorgona, or might have missed it actually as he slipped towards the Teller side.
Wow, the grenade's about to roll over the top. Nothing caught it apart from Benja's face. And it did a huge amount of damage. He falls back alive, and that's the most important part, because when you're playing with those impacts, 6 of them, they know how they want to try and stop these breaches. But to be fair, G2 are aware of that. Obviously, they've got slightly more to work with as they sort of had before than a lot of other teams bring. They like to double down with the hard breach. They don't sort of play themselves stuck in. They could, if they really wanted to, use Sophia to open up a bit of a closer angle to deposit those and keep the exothermics safer. But they don't really have to. When you have the Selmas, when you have the expertise, they have pretty much just as much hard breach as the Heroic have to stop it.
Yeah, they have 5 pieces up against 6 of these impacts, and when they all start to be placed out, they need to be just as quick as well, and there you have it, they're being spread out. First impact will potentially come in. I think they actually got both of them, so a new one will be deployed. So the second impact goes in, and that one will also get it. Second person comes in, yeah, no, exactly. It's going to be missing these, though, because everything has been opened up. The second one actually got it, indeed. So no more Selmas left. So it's going to be info. Exothermic, yes, gets tricked as well. But there is one more left, Emmy, and we do not have any other utility left to use to get rid of it.
Use the C4. No, it was a battle for attrition. They truly said, well, we have more in our pockets than you. And now it's a massive fight, a battle over no man's land. Doki finds Gorgona in the meantime. He was caught out, and now they're going to rotate and make sure nobody's trying to catch them out. They have also the air jabs, watching for the rotation round onto the backside of Blue here to make sure they don't get caught. The smoke covers the big open space. They want to see if they can try and slink their way through, and they're making sure that now they have the man advantage on this approach. They can try and keep themselves a bit more concerned about what else might be going on. 30 seconds roughly, and they've got to stretch around onto that main door. They want to try and deep dive the plant behind the solidity of that bar on the far side of the kitchen. They're looking for an angle, and Nuno's looking for a response. They're hoping they drift onto the breach here. They're hoping they can get a bit of a catch. 10 seconds, another smoke pops off, and well, there goes it. Trade, Prano and Alamau are able to find at least either side of the gunfight here. They slip their way through. Sloth can't quite get the connection. He's going to have to try and hop up and go for it. He has an idea. He can't quite get the angle. It's a triple for Doki. There's one more for Citizen, and that now is map point for G2.
I don't know what to write down as a win condition. Is it the ton of hard breach they had, which they could use to open up the wall eventually? That was a sight to be seen there. Every single piece used,
it truly was.
Every single but one got denied.
I mean, that's just like... it's one of those sort of plays where it's like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on you. Fool me 3 times, shame on you. Fool me 4 times, shame on you. Fool me 5 times, shame on you. Fool me 6 times, shame on me.
Oh, it took a while before we got there, but eventually the wall got opened up, and G2 able to strike, able to get the entry kill as well. It's actually the 3rd entry kill of this entire series. And given the fact that they're 6-3 up, they're doing pretty well at the mid-game, being able to bring these rounds back and turn them into their own advantage in the end here. And as we're headed up towards, seems to be the top 4 now, the CEO office, it is gonna be interesting to see how they want to go at it. I mean, an Amaru is coming in. Amaru on Virtue, Twitch. Hibana, Yana, Zofia. It's not really a rush lineup that speaks out,
Hibana Yana.
but there's smokes.
Banana Rama.
5 seconds left before insertion.
I'm sorry, am I helping?
No, you're not, but
Okay.
it's totally fine.
Hey, what's that lineup though?
Defuse a bomb.
There's no smokes. I thought there was going to be smokes, but
Nah.
Claymores instead. I was like, maybe we see some smokes dust in, a deep plant coming through, but not really the case. So Virtue, have fun with the Gara hook. See if you can find yourself a way in.
I think that's it now. With this sort of play, especially when you've got the Claymores, what they want to do here is obviously stop a jump out on those windows. We know Benja likes to do it. We know Benja pulled a 3K when they played this against W7M yesterday. And you got to have that caution. And now you have 2 Claymores per person. They're both ready. They're both already in a position that you can guess at least if you lose one, you'll catch them on the drop down. They're putting pressure there on the other side. Benja's just going to slip his way down the stock hatch. He has a little bit of safety there through the softs. He's kind of hoping he can line up a fight here unexpected, but how unexpected is it? The man goes back on his drone. They're flipping around, pinging, trying to find him. Doki finds Sloth in the meantime. A big player off the board as the first removal, and Doki can be very happy with that news.
And you surely will be very happy about that because they are on match point, but he gets his head taken off by Gorgona. He's going to be able to find a kill, but still more people up on the rappel here trying to find one more kill on the side of G2. And don't forget, Virtue still around, will be able to find a kill, still has the Gara hook available, might just as well be going up the janitor hatch if he feels like it.
I think that's it now. Losing Benja in that position, they've lost a big bit of control here, and well, their opponents have that operator that likes to play around in that sort of play space. Obviously, it was used against them before. Gorgona, he's doing his best just to stop any of the intel rolling its way through his Hallow tools. He is looking for anything that might signify a bit of danger or destruction and trying to cut it before it gets a bit close. But G2 like to build, they like to structure themselves and make sure that they're in that position before they strike. Gorgona suffers the end of that.
Bruno eyeing to drop down the skylight here and make sure he's going to be able to have some pressure down onto those main stairs. He might just as well be holding the flank. I mean, there's a minute left. It could be either. And as Virtue goes for a big rotate now as well, you can only imagine that as Bruno finds that kill, it might be over here with 50 on the clock. Grenades coming in are going to be dealing even more damage to Gorgona. Not quite the kill. He just barely hangs on, and that might be a crucial factor for Heroic.
Well, grenades are the snake in his boot, but this is the one that comes all the way up to the top. The spray over on the other side of the shield. There's a trade, though. Suddenly it's back in. We're seeing a little bit more here from Heroic. 2 quick kills, and Citizen suffers the next, but stacked up, lined up, and blinded Uno is all that's left to try and stop Prano and Citizen. 2 huge players are trying their drive towards the site. 20 seconds. Do they know where he is? He has some smokes in his pocket. If he can get this catch, he doesn't. G2 are able to get the full 3 points. Twice they've taken Heroic to the boards. Twice they've taken the win. And now they sit almost confirmed for playoffs.
They are starting to get there indeed. And Uno, the man, of course, who played for G2 once, the experience factor there, he was almost able to sneak around if it wasn't for the extra angle to be put on the board. Otherwise, he could potentially stop that plant from happening. But G2, the fans all over the world will be more than happy, more than delighted to see that they're going to be able to pick up yet another match here.
I think that's it right now. If you're looking at the shape of the board, we said it before, Dark Zero obviously played for 9 points. G2 played 3. They're sitting on 7. They're not that far behind. There's a gap and a distance between 3rd and 4th place, but we'll get towards the details of that in this game after a quick break.
Welcome back, everybody, here after we have just seen G2 take the win, their second win against Heroic. They find themselves at 7 points. And just a little bit of a step closer towards qualifying for the playoffs, for the crown, for the main stage. I'm not quite sure, has any other team done that already?
I don't know.
I don't know.
There's
So
teams that are
they might
close.
be the first one to actually
They
do
might,
it.
obviously, because we've got them back to back, and we're starting to get these repeats and these double downs. We're only really having a couple of groups that have teams with 4 games played. Obviously, there's the group of 3 that has a little bit more sort of work together. But here, with this showing, it was convincing for G2, and you haven't really been able to say that about all of their games. But if they're a team that starts to get better and better here, I mean, don't get me wrong, Des was like, we'll see them in the final. Not a lot of people said that. But not a lot more said that they would be out of groups.
No, for sure. There's a lot of people that had their doubts, especially if you look at their last EUL play, where they could qualify themselves, but they didn't. They went to sleep. Yeah, they hit the bed early, and BDS was able to beat them. I believe that was a 7-2 victory, something like that. And people were like, wow, have you just tossed away the major? Have you just G2 choked? As they would say to themselves.
I don't know.
They got saved.
They were safe.
At that moment. By, guess who? Heroic! Oh! And they've just beaten them twice.
Two Heroicus, G2us? I can't remember which way around that is. At 2 G2us. No, it's that sort of situation right now where it happens. You hit that point in a tournament, in groups, where you start to know the shape of things. And it's not entirely because they're in this position of fighting for this, but it's also who they've beaten. Heroic twice. And if Heroic were that team that were fighting for the second spot, I don't know, bearing the result of the game that happens next, because Heroic I still think are in reaching distance of Dark Zero, technically.
Yes. Okay, so Dark Zero on 9, Heroic
You
on
have
3.
the workings.
So
you can show
that's
your
6
workings.
points. Wait, let me
You haven't
quickly
added the
let me
3.
quickly change it.
Our production
Cable.
We're helping production by doing our own graphics.
All right, there we go. Oh, it's so loud. Yeah, you see it?
Yeah, you
Dark
see it.
Zero 9 G2. I'm gonna walk.
Yeah, go around.
We're gonna go on a walk. So this is how we do graphics nowadays. Let's pull up the group standings for Group C. Ah, come on.
I look so small. Make a tiny assistant. This is never going to work.
We tried. It's okay.
We gave it our best. Okay, for perspective, it's not quite over, and that's the main
No.
thing. It's still a fight that is trying to find its way through, but it will continue into our next game, which is obviously G2 versus W7M. Because if G2 keep this roll on, they're warmed up. That's all she wrote.
That might be it indeed. That might be W7M also finding themselves eliminated at that point because look at that. 9 points, 2 points. You guys can see that. We can. That means there's 7 points of difference. If W7M loses that game, they're out of reach.
Do you know what I have on this card? I have the B stream, the game that Cyclops is currently playing. Let's go and have a look at that as I reveal it to you now.